I like to play a game where I guess whether the person with the haunted house calls a priest or an investigator first. And it looks like this time around, we're going with priest. Yes. Pretty cool. I knew it wouldn't have been a therapist, that's for damn sure. They're always so close. Something's off this year. Doesn't quite feel like spooky month, you know what I mean?
No.
Yeah, you get me. I haven't even decorated the place yet. I guess I could do that now. Yeah, I guess that'll do her. Now what? I really need to get spooked. Nothing spooky has happened yet. Oh, you picking up on any ghosts or anything nearby? Those can be scary sometimes.
Scanning. Scan returned with 0 results.
Oh, well, my stupid little Oh, is that... hello, is this a ghost?
What? No, I'm not a ghost.
Oh, sorry, I was just, hoping it might be. 'Tis the season and all that. Anyway, who may I ask is calling?
It's me, a big old spooky skeleton.
That really gave me a start. It's all in good fun though, right?
No, I'm fucking twisted.
Oh, you're joking, right?
No, I'm fucking out of my mind.
But it's just a goof, right?
No, I'm fucking out of my mind.
Hey, what's up, Goth Gamer Nation? Okay, hear me out. The Vampire Diaries is a supernatural horror, mystery, point-and-click game, and the only thing supernatural I saw in Europe were the Guys simulator. It was developed by Her Interactive and published by American Laser Games for PC in 1996. It was also based on a series of moderately successful YA novels of the same name that would, nearly 20 years later, go on to inspire a seemingly successful, as far as I can tell, live-action series on the CW network. This game can obviously only draw from the first 4 of these novels, as the author L.J. Smith didn't return to the series until 2009, presumably upon realizing that another series of books concerning a deeply toxic supernatural love triangle was rising into prominence, and now was when the iron would be its hottest.
Before Bella, and for all eternity, brothers battled to claim Elena's heart. L.J. Smith's The Vampire Diaries.
I don't have all the facts, nor do I have the investigative drive to dig deeper, but from what I can tell, after penning a trilogy of return novels, the canon of the Vampire Diaries began to conflict with the growing popularity of the Vampire Diaries television show, so L.J. Smith's publisher removed her from the book series, meaning from that point forward, many more Vampire Diaries novels would be written by ghostwriters, and eventually they'd stop even holding up the ruse that she was still in control of her creation. Though it could have always been this way, I suppose. L.J. Smith sounds a lot like a pen name, and it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that the real L.J. Smith was a shadowy collective of corporate demons. Like most things, there was a Simpsons episode about this.
We own your book, so why don't you go and cry into your $1 million check?
This would be the second game produced by Her Interactive, a developer now synonymous with point-and-click adaptations of another book series, Nancy Drew, a franchise they have been releasing yearly for decades, sometimes cramming in 2 or 3 in the same year. However, in 2019 there was a management change that led to layoffs for most of the development team, and the series has stalled to release its 35th Nancy Drew title. Long before that, and before Vampire Diaries, American Laser Games self-published a game called Mackenzie & Co., a game that did the impossible, the unthinkable according to the big brains of the 90s. It got playing video games. This was what they called a social adventure game, but what could reasonably now be classified as a dating sim, a not at all patronizing full-motion video game about trying to find a date to the prom while dealing with high school classes in the form of minigames. On one hand, there is something admirable about the pursuit to create media that meant to offer an entryway for girls who, while they certainly did play video games, it wasn't a very accommodating space for them, made evident by the fact fact that the only reason American Laser Games had to self-publish Mackenzie & Co. was because every major publisher they took it to refused it on the grounds that girls do not play video games. They even supposedly interviewed over 2,000 girls to gather data on what they wanted out of a game. I don't know if the parameters of this were published anywhere. I mean, that sounds like it could be fruitful if it wasn't based on a bunch of prompts that confirmed the game idea they already had. Like, if you could have any boy take you to the prom, who would it be? A cowboy? Really? Well, thank you for your time. Next! On the other hand, the motivation for this experiment was because the company's director of marketing essentially said, all these girls got so much disposable income, they're fucking blowing on Tamagotchis, makeup, and collect calls to horny boy hotlines. We gotta get in on that.
Disclaimer, the Tamagotchi was actually introduced in the US in the year 1997, a full year after the release of Mackenzie & Co. This would make it impossible for the American Laser Games director of marketing to see the potential gain in redirecting the cash flow Tamagotchi received from young girls towards a video game designed to entice the same target consumer. I apologize for this error, and will work to better myself and the content of my channel. Have a blessed day.
Despite all odds, Mackenzie & Co. was a surprise hit, selling tens of thousands of copies, and leading to the creation of the Her Interactive division, which would in the same year begin producing The Vampire Diaries. Also, in a grander sense, this kicked off a series of what would be referred to as pink games, which are very different from pink films, incidentally. But other publishers began hawking their own interpretation of girl games to these fabled girl gamers, like the wildly successful Barbie fashion designer from Mattel.
Fashion designer, computers are cool for girls.
We really want girls to feel like computers are cool for them, so how do we relay that message? Yeah. We say that they're cool for them. Explain. Computers are cool for girls. I could kiss you right now. Also, I'm almost positive that is a tiny Mila Kunis, as well as others that operated similarly, like more of an activity center than a traditional game with either a challenge or a story. And as if from nowhere, suddenly, marketing video games to girls was viable, though it would be a long time before they'd just think to make Dragon Age. This wouldn't last long. Soon the market would be saturated with bright pink boxes offering very similar experiences that no longer held the attention of its target demographic. Pink games became a pejorative, and the game industry seemed to scratch its head and collectively say, well, I guess girls really don't play games because they're not buying all this shitty shovelware we pissed out for them. Why aren't you playing Clueless the CD-ROM? Why aren't you eating this gruel I made for you? Her Interactive was one of few companies that remained after this mass exodus of pink game publishers. Didn't even rebrand or anything, just kept chugging along because they had found a good niche, and one that wasn't entirely talking down to its audience. In fact, it was the only division of American Laser Games that turned a profit. In the January 97 issue of GamePro, they report that even though the company had made a name for themselves releasing FMV-based games for the Sega CD and 3DO, both consoles that are timeless with many years of life ahead of them,
The most advanced home gaming system in the universe.
they would be laying off most of their staff that wasn't Her Interactive, sensing the impending death of FMV in favor of 3D graphics on the horizon. Interestingly enough, not really, they mentioned that they just published The Vampire Diaries and are working on a game based on the Sweet Valley High book series, though as far as I can tell, that was never made. I do not have enough data to describe how it sold or how it was received. Any review I could find was from several years later and seemed to imply the game was hard to come by, but enjoyable if you're the type of person who would go out of their way to acquire a game about a vampire love triangle. Also, many in its intended age range may find it too difficult or unintuitive. This is, like Gothos, another game I only discovered from being incensed by an eBay listing. For maybe a year now, I have seen the same listing of a boxed copy of Vampire Diaries that clearly looks as though someone sat on it. The thing's fucking cooked, but according to its description, it is very much able to be squared up. And I'm about to square up looking at that price point. How much do you think it's going for? Let's think this out logically. You are paying for a paper box with useless disc media inside of it, right? So already, let's hack off some points. You're buying it because there aren't many of them. Ultra rare as the title suggests. Now let's hack off some more because it's significantly damaged. You put this on a shelf next to another boxed game, it ain't gonna be flush with it. gonna be its own amorphous shape that doesn't conform to any collection. Now let's add in some money just to take into account the insanity of how retro games are valued these days. I mean, it's not graded in a plastic case like some scumbag scammers are one to do, but in general, people be selling these for a lot lately. So it's a game nobody gives a shit about, and it's a little fucked up, but you really want it, and there aren't many of them, and that's what they're banking on here. Couple hundred, right? 200, 300 American, already way too much for any paper box. But you can find games going for about that much, and people will buy them. Well, you'd be a ways off. Now don't be startled. I know it's a scary number. It's okay, let's not panic just yet. There's one more listing, and it even looks marginally better. And this could be our best... What absolute madman, what deranged fool, what complete would fork over this much cash to play the Vampire Diaries point-and-click game from the year 1996? Well, since you're asking, I am thrilled to announce that thanks to my generous patrons, I have acquired a box of hot and spicy cheeses. All Vampire Diaries media, initially at least, takes place in the fictional Virginia town of Fells Church and follows a high school student named Elena Gilbert. She's blonde. In nearly any other book or film, Elena would be the villain, but for whatever reason, she's the protagonist that we are meant to empathize with. Her parents are dead after all, and that's sad. She has to live with her aunt, in this story named Judith, and little sister Margaret. In the show, Margaret was swapped out with a drug-dealing teen brother because children are boring. Elena has just arrived back home from a trip to Europe, where she was separated from her boyfriend Matt. She's got a friend named Meredith, who is entirely missing from the game, but her other friend Bonnie is not. Bonnie's a wee bit of a witch. She's going through a witchy phase. She's giving out crystal readings on TikTok. And obviously the show's made some big changes with her. In a shallow effort to force diversity into the cast, they made her transphobic.
She looks so hot. Can I still say trans?
Like the show, the game takes its own detours and winds up spinning its own version of the book's story. We open on the day Elena and her family return from Europe to Fells Church and attend the opening of a new art gallery, which I think might have just been a tidy way to introduce all the characters at once, as you have to mingle at the party for a while, talking to Bonnie, Aunt Judith, and Margaret, as well as Damon Smith, a man in a vest of some kind that Elena initially hits on until she realizes he's going to be her biology teacher at the start of the year. Also, Mikhail Romanov, the mysterious party host who appeared from nowhere with an impressive collection of artifacts to display. Wherever he goes, a girl named Caroline is sure to be there, clinging to his arm. In the books, she begins as a frenemy of sorts to Elena that becomes a full-on antagonist or rival at certain points. But in the game, these two immediately openly hate each other. It's just verbal daggers right out the gate. We're talking B words, C words, and even the dreaded G word. Gamer.
Your little homecoming throne is safe from me. I've found a new world to conquer. One far more mature and fascinating.
It's easy to give up something that's not yours, isn't it, Caroline?
We also meet Mrs. Flowers. They don't do a great job explaining what her character is supposed to be, but I think she owns a boarding house and is often gardening in the local cemetery. Both the book and the show have differing interpretations of her, and only this game makes her more than just a glorified extra. While Caroline threatens to steal your practically guaranteed homecoming crown, Margaret screams. Elena runs off to look for her and finds her in a closet, passed out, as a stock video of a bird flies away from her. They take her to the hospital, and she seems to be in a coma after sustaining an injury to her neck that looks like a bite mark from an animal. And we did see an animal, didn't we? Either way, Margaret's down for the count indefinitely because she got bit by a bird. As Elena tries to head home, she's stopped by Caroline, who shows up to, I guess, kick Elena while she's down, continue to blame her dumb shit sister for ruining Mikhail's party. Thankfully, this is interrupted by a nurse named Stefan that needs to ask you you a few questions. Caroline finally agrees to leave just as her ride arrives, and it's Damon Smith. I couldn't tell you why a high school teacher is just ready and willing to give a ride to one of his students late at night, but hey. Stefan and Damon have some kind of mildly aggressive confrontation when Damon offers to drive back to pick up Elena, but it's diffused quickly. Stefan asks about the details of the attack, and Elena tells him that it was too big to be an animal, which confused me, obviously, because I guess it was maybe a larger than average bird, but I saw a bird. I know what I saw, so maybe she saw something I didn't. Nothing really comes about from this conversation other than Stefan doesn't seem immediately dismissive of Elena's inability to describe what attacked her sister. She leaves to get some rest and dreams of some kind of mausoleum and a pair of spooky owl eyes. In the morning, we find a news article under her carpet about a historian named Gary Richards who bought a supposedly magic dagger, significant to Romanian folklore. What's this? Her Interactive takes computing to her. Her Interactive continues their dedication to developing quality games for females with the release of their newest game. This newest title will serve the perfect follow-up to their blockbuster title, The Vampire Diaries, TM. But that's what I'm playing right now. How can the game be in the game? Am I in the game? Where am I? Where am I? Where am I?
Hi, I'm the Vampire Carpet Man.
Back at the hospital, there has been no change in Margaret's condition and no sign of any kind of infection or reason for her coma. This is where, look, I haven't read these books, but I'm assuming a lot of what is about to happen happened slowly over the course of 1 or 2 books maybe, because they just kick you off a ledge into the supernatural, bypassing all the expected setup and world building. We don't see Elena at school interacting with characters, giving us an impression of her personality, what makes her the #1 fucker at school. What happens is Stefan freaks out because you have psychic wounds. Oh, did she look at that eBay listing too? He tells her she and everyone in Fell's church is in danger. Also, he can tell that she was psychically attacked by some kind of psychic bird, it looks like, and now that it's tasted her blood, it can find her at any time, waking or dreaming. See, this is the beauty of the American healthcare system. I want my doctor telling me what spirit animal attacked me in my sleep. Then we can pray together before I hand over my life savings. Stefan claims that this is the work of an ancient evil that has sought out her life force because she's a natural leader, I guess alluding to her social status in high school, saying that in another time she would be a powerful sorcerer. And I guess he could just be hitting on her, because I'm not seeing the correlation there. God, you're so hot. I bet you could be president. This evil force is feeding on the blood of innocence to build strength and thus ultimate power. In order to achieve this, you'd need some kind of ancient weapon, like a small ornate blade that's within walking distance maybe. Now, the reason he knows this is because he's a part of it. A hunter of the night, as he calls it. Born in the 15th century and died after his own brother killed him in a duel. They fought over the affection of the vampire that sired them, and upon killing each other, became vampires for real, for real. He's not 100% sure, but he suspects that his brother, Damon, your soon-to-be biology teacher, is behind Margaret's attack, and that he may be trying to achieve ultimate power in order to finally defeat Stefan once and for all. This guy? Vest guy? You think he's gonna achieve ultimate power and rule over humanity? The only way he's gonna get ultimate power is by being a Discord mod. Since Elena is just a stupid, useless human, she can't do anything to fight Damon. But she could research a druid spell that he's heard about once, wherein you grant yourself vampire-level powers by creating a ring of power that creates a bond with another person that has power, and then you share the power like a power loan of some kind. Jesus Christ. It's a lot to take in, and also in stark contrast to the book and show. The video game version of Elena and Stefan don't initially seem interested in each other at all. Then suddenly Stefan really seems to be concerned, near panicked by his concern for her. In the other media, Elena is the one that breaks up with her boyfriend after just getting a look at this guy. She's immediately obsessed with him and vows to make him hers. But he initially blanks her. He doesn't want to get involved, not even because of the problematic age gap, but because he was going through blood withdrawal, starving himself because he morally strongly objected to what he was. In the show, they treat the reveal of Stefan like some kind of horny cosmic horror scene. They have this extended sequence where all the other characters see him before she does, and we just get their reaction to how fucking irresistibly hot this vampire boy is. Of course, then Elena and the audience get a look at him, and we go mad from the revelation that he is some fucking guy. I don't know. I'm frankly more taken aback by the fact that he looks and is 30 and he's trying to pass as a high schooler. What's Gucci, fellow kids? Boy, I tell you, that square-shaped cafeteria pizza sure is Jim Dandy. I mean, bussin', no cap. I gotta go. Hey, I mean, it's up to you, bud. You want to play this yourself and avoid spoilers? Feel free to skip to this time. And no judgment there. We're all friends here. On the outside, of course. Inside, I'm a coiled serpent, ready to betray you at the first sign of receiving personal gain from it.
If I don't give it to him, he'll retaliate me.
Oh my god, this show is not even watchable. Who greenlit so many seasons of this?
That would be primarily the result of producer Julie Plyer.
Wait, shut up, he's back on. The show's good.
Actually, based on an aggregate of critic and user reviews, the show is good.
The hell was that?
I was lying.
Oh, well, it does kind of nullify it if you tell me.
I'm dead.
Do you like it? Elena visits Bonnie to learn more about druids. In a conversation you'd think they would have already had, Bonnie explains that her grandmother is descended from druids, and thus has an expansive knowledge of druid magic or whatever, and if you want to learn more, you can check out her grandmother's diary, which has been donated to the local library. In it, she describes meeting a random woman somewhere sometime that told her a poem for magic reasons. She just knew that this poem was a powerful spell to create a ring of power, which she then outlines as a silver ring with a lapis stone that will need to be placed in New Earth. Might seem heavy-handed, but in the show, Bonnie just seems to keep repeating, "So like, I guess I'm a witch or whatever," every time she enters the episode.
Our ancestors were from Salem, witches and all that, I know.
My ancestors were these really cool Salem witch chicks or something.
Bonnie, please look into it. Just please look into it. Realize your potential. Another book in the library that will be significant later is an account of a woman named Adelaide, who was the daughter of a Union general in the American Civil War, who fell in love with a Confederate soldier and waited for him to return from war, only to die waiting. As a side note, it is a little odd how much unremarked on Confederate bullshit is in this game and the book. It's just kind of there, and I don't know why. I'm trying to play a game about vampires, and you're making me go to Robert E. Lee High School, which houses a Confederate uniform and flag, and then you steal the hat from the uniform to give to Adelaide's ghost so she can be reunited with the soldier? And I'm like, what, supposed to find this sweet or something? Oh, he fought to protect his state's rights to continue to expand slavery, and now he's up in heaven. Cute. Put me in charge of Fell's Church. First thing I'm doing is bulldozing this gravesite and putting up a gay liberal commie goth gamer store. And yes, I mean a Y2K era hot topic. It's a good thing they cut all the shit out of the Damon! Get that off screen. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. Okay, I looked it up, and apparently there was a deep lore reason why he was pressured into doing it that doesn't make it all that much better. I'm not even going to look up what he was doing in the 1930s. I can only withstand so much. But before we do that, Bonnie offers to help guide you on your quest using her grandmother's magic runes. The only problem is that one of them is missing, and coincidentally, Mikhail's gallery just so happened to have acquired one just like it after Bonnie misplaced it there, and has put it up for sale at a ridiculous price. While following a convoluted series of events to collect the ingredients for our Ring of Power spell, you can find yourself cornered by Damon, who is overall a much less important character in this story. The whole point of the books was that he was a rival for Elena's affections, but she has seemingly no interest in him after the first interaction. I mean, they've recast him as a teacher, so that is appropriate, but That seems like a big change. One of few fail states in the game is triggered when you get caught sneaking into the school to steal the Confederate hat. Elena accuses him of being a monster, but he insists that his brother has been exaggerating, and it couldn't have been him that attacked Margaret because even though he is the bad boy of the two, he draws the line at children, showing that he does have some kind of moral compass, but then he does kill you though, which is putting him on thin ice if you ask me. After giving Adelaide's ghost to the hat, we dig up her grave to retrieve a handful of gold coins. With no idea what they are, what they're worth, Elena marches over to the gallery and dumps them on the table, saying, this ought to be enough. With the full collection of runes, Bonnie attempts to channel her grandmother's spirit to give Elena a hint about defeating the evil in Feldchurch. Through some magic spooky talk, we learn that the spell needs to be done at the cemetery at night. I think there might be a missing scene here, but the impression I get is that after completing the spell to create the ring, Elena passed out and was brought home by Mrs. Flowers, sans ring. In the morning, everyone is real patronizing about the missing ring, the thing that's supposed to save the whole town, and people are just like, I don't see how it's important, but no, I haven't seen your jewelry around. Aunt Judith assumes Elena meant she lost her class ring and scolds her about it.
Oh, Elena, how could you be so careless?
And she doesn't even defend herself. She's just like, yeah, you're right. I'm an idiot. You're right. Everyone's right. Returning to Mrs. Flowers results in her shrugging, having never even seen a ring in her goddamn life. So Elena returns home defeated and falls asleep, but soon awakes to find a crazed Mrs. Flowers holding a lantern. She says his power is growing and she has to perform the spell now before it's too late. Take the ring. Wait, hang on a second. You said you'd never seen it before. Also, I never told you shit about the spell or any of that. How would it make any sense that you knew even back at the cemetery? Elena prepares to perform the spell when Mikhail appears and reveals that despite all the other options, he, the only Eastern European guy who looks like a vampire that appeared from nowhere with vast riches, has been the ancient evil all along. He was the one who attacked Margaret. He also just got done killing Caroline. She was aware that he was a vampire and was essentially his ghoul by VTM rules until he got carried away. Just for fun, he allows a few questions before carrying on with his villainous designs. He goes into his past, recounting that he was turned into a vampire by his own mother, who never wanted to experience the loss of her child. When he met and fell in love with a woman, however, his mother feared losing him and killed her, leading Mikhail to kill his mother in return. I guess it's not really relevant or important to what's going on now. I figured this was included to psychoanalyze him, make his experience with his mother instill some weird fixation on power or control, and that led him to wanting ultimate power. I don't know. Mostly it's just so you know what kind of dude this guy is. Thankfully, Stefan finally makes himself useful in the story. Instead of pacing around in a hospital lounge, he performs the singular heroic thing he does in this whole story. That was it. He's out of here. Well, I guess we can just blow this guy up. There's a hard cut from Mikhail blowing up to Elena sobbing over the loss of Stefan.
I love you. I miss you.
Wait, you love him? You've spent all of 5 minutes with this asshole, and the most helpful thing he did was get a concussion. Well, cut it out because he's still alive, and you're given the choice to profess your love for Stefan, thus becoming his vampire companion for the rest of however long, or you could say you need time to think about it, and he'll be waiting around until you're ready, which is pretty considerate of them to include. Either way, that's the end. Everything wrapped up in a nice and tidy little bow, without a single loose end.
You'll go mad playing this game. It's so much fun. It will make you smile.
Would it be too much to say that the plot in this mid-90s computer game adaptation of the Vampire Diaries series of young adult novels falls short of greatness, a further diluted version of something already meant for a younger audience? I can't really put myself in the mindset of the exact target audience for this game, a, let's say, 12, 13-year-old who had also just read the books, but I have to imagine, as well as maybe being the first game girls played that was specifically marketed for them. It likely also served as one of the first times they got to be underwhelmed by an adaptation of something they liked. I haven't even read these books, but I know that this game is nothing like them for no real reason. As a complete outsider whose only interest in it came from the fact that vampires are in it, and it's a point-and-click game from the 90s, I got, to some degree, what I wanted out of it. It's goofy and fun, but I mean, come on. And look, I don't have the box in front of me because the retro game market is fucked, but I do have this tiny, barely legible image of it, and I can sort of make out what's on the back. And to her's credit, it does fulfill every promise on here, so I can't say they shot for the stars and missed. Your room may not be safe. Well, I was attacked by a psychic bird in it for some reason, so that's a check. Gather clues from people. Check and check, that's most of what I did. Explore the town of Fells Church. Well, yeah, I suppose I did do that. See, this is what I'm talking about. Make promises like this, and you'll never fail. It's kind of funny that a game aimed at a young audience of girls that, by game publishers' own thinking, didn't even know what a video game was, assuming they'd used the disc as a decorative coaster, came out with many of the same issues that plagued adult games, mainly unintuitive design and timed sequences that have you frozen, not sure what you're meant to do until you just die. I couldn't really find reviews for it, but the few that I could find were, weirdly enough, mostly German, but also, adults complaining about the game being frustrating and needing a hint button or just less subtle clues. This is one of those games where there are stretches where you don't know where you need to go, so you just go down the line of locations, clicking on everything until you get back on track. Sometimes this backfired, as you can accidentally skip ahead with certain plot details. I had already worked out how to get Bonnie's missing rune back before I even had the conversation where she told me it was missing. And honestly, I didn't even catch that as it was happening. I mean, I was mostly in a daze of some kind while playing this, perking up in the rare circumstance that something vampire-related appeared on screen. So Elena started talking about a rune, and I just figured I wasn't paying attention. I'm gonna give the game the benefit of the doubt, seeing as though my brain was further off than it was when I'm playing a Far Cry game. Everything blurred, and I was just on autopilot, beyond Vampire Diaries, into the flames. The darkness, the devastation, the cold dark edges of my waning sanity. You move the camera around by clicking at the edges, left, right, up, down, but you rarely have any reason to look up or down, except for like the one time you need to. So that's kind of annoying. The good news is you won't have to worry about dealing with that very long, because if you're like me and your brain is wired to understand adventure game logic in place of normal human function that would grant you access to healthy relationships and self-respect, you can complete this game in about 3 hours. You can sort of think of it like a rapid-fire sequence of familiar, if simplified, adventure game mechanics. There are some brief moments of item hunting and exploration, 1 or 2 puzzles that are not prohibitively difficult, but will likely require you to take down some notes, which isn't as commonplace in modern games. All you fuckers are so used to having the game play itself. Back in my day, we had to write shit down, then realize we didn't write down the correct information that was needed, so we look up a walkthrough on GameFAQs. The ultimate goal of the game is to perform a spell, and there are lots of steps to take into account in that process. So you're gonna be doing some writing. I was actually really concerned when I found a room with some kind of chemistry set in it. Please, God, oh Jesus, Lord, baby Moses, don't make me do some kind of science experiment. Please don't make me pour beakers with different colored fluids into each other. I'll scream. I'll piss. Thankfully, you didn't have to do that. The majority of what you'll be doing is hopping back and forth between characters and talking to them. There are usually a handful of dialogue options, but I don't think they make any strong impact on how things play out. I'm fine with it having more of a focus on social interaction, and there are at least some sequences where you can dig through people's belongings, which is just the only thing I need in a game, I think.
Let me see what you got.
Much like Gothos, which comes to mind again, this is a game spread across 3 discs that you'll need to actively swap in and out as you move around the game and progress, which I'm sure was more commonplace at the time and people were more accepting of it, but that sounds like literally the end of the world to me. I'm already getting the mental workout of playing the Vampire Diaries, and now you want me to get up and do manual labor? Come on, man, you know I don't got these fucking discs. Are you out of your goddamn mind?
Disclaimer. Warning.
The following words are corrupted by the fact that I think this game and games like it look pretty cool. There is a surprising amount of this that just works. makes a valiant attempt to employ a visual style that could be as time and resource consuming as a film production, and was also rapidly becoming a joke. And you know what? This one looks better than some. I think that might be because it's not exactly attempting any wild, complex integration of gameplay and video beyond way too many Dutch angles. It's rare that it tries anything other than showing a green screen actor in front of an equally compressed, pre-rendered backdrop. I'm curious if it just wound up that way, or if they made an attempt to have both layers have the same level of compression, because they look kinda seamless. Though every now and then the actor might have a faint ring of white around them where they weren't keyed out properly, or they accidentally step just a bit out of the mask so part of them disappears. Also, a big thing detracting from the quality of them is that nearly every time you choose a line of dialogue and then they start talking again, there is just a single frame of them missing as a new video is selected to play, which fucks with the flow, both because they're gone for a second, but also when they come back they might not be in the same position they were in the still frame. I do appreciate the detail that characters are often idly standing in environments and will react when you mouse over them with a little loop, like you tap them on the shoulder or something. It's just a considerate little flourish that makes me think at least someone cared about this. Rest assured, there are oopsies here, particularly in the text. Not only does it often differ greatly from what is spoken, sometimes it's just fucked and full of errors to the point where I thought my brain finally deflated. Runes are highly personal, you know. Two people can look at the same set of runes and come up with two completely different meanings. And the funny part is, they would both be right. It's all a Mar business decisions tour of belief. What else can I do to help? I think I found a rune to replace the one that Bonnie is missing. The only snag is that it's for sale in Mikhail's art gallery, which means that I need a whole lot of money to buy it. You wouldn't happen business decisions tour of belief and to have any money you could lend me, do you? I have to imagine the most difficulty they had during production had to have been the sound recording and mixing, because it's all over the map. Elena herself seems to be the only character whose voice was recorded in a booth, but it's also the most compressed and blown out.
Do you know anything about runes, Aunt Judith? Bonnie said one of hers is missing and I'd like to get her another one.
If you were to look at the waveform of her voiceover, that shit would look like a pattern of squares. Like a goddamn checkerboard. Fuck. One of my favorite parts of this experience was how often they reused the option to conclude a conversation with the same clip of Elena saying, in the cattiest tone, "Bye."
Mr. Gary Richards might know about that kind of thing. I believe your friend Bonnie McCulloch works for him, doesn't she?
Bye.
Now, is there anything else I can do for you today?
Bye.
Here's all the ingredients for the magic spell, Elena. I'm so proud of you, you know that? I admire your courage, and the town of Fells Church owes you a debt of gratitude. They will never truly know how much you did for them, how you saved them. Saved all of us, really. Is there anything else I can do for you?
Bye.
For the rest of the actors, they clearly used the live audio from the video they recorded, which is not commonly done, precisely because it makes it sound like this.
Since it appears that someone else has taken my place, I shall bid you adieu. Shall we, Miss Forbes?
You pick up a shitload of room tone, echoes, unexplainable buzzing and feedback, clothing moving around and so forth, but God bless them, they just kept all that in, and sometimes it's pretty noticeable. The acting itself isn't horrible. I mean, it's not good by any traditional definition, but these seem like actors, and they seem aware of the material, treating it almost like a Disney Channel sitcom, really playing up their archetypes. Very few of the actors involved either pursued acting further or had much success with it. Elena, who is pretty much just a voice, the only time she's on camera is from the back, perhaps to suggest that any of us could be Elena. The only other role I could find post-Vampire Diaries was a direct-to-video movie called Naked Fear that I only watched all of because I am that considerate in what I do. I did this for you.
Doctor says you can have visitors this evening if you feel up to it.
Also, for whatever reason, Joe Mantegna is in it. In a strange bit of continuity, the actor who plays Aunt Judith wound up appearing in season 2 of the Vampire Diaries TV show, which is a cute turn of fate, although she was cast as Old Farm Woman, which is probably not the most flattering name to have on the old resume. Also, it's just weird that the show's vision of Aunt Judith, or Jenna, is a woman who is only 2 years older than Nina Dobrev, who played Elena and could believably just be her sister. Caroline's actor would wind up having a recurring role on the short-lived TV adaptation of Vampire the Masquerade, Kindred the Embraced. More than one person would quickly go on to appear in other vampire media, which may just be a testament to how popular vampires were in the mid to late 90s. Even the voice actor that played Bonnie's grandmother, who was so bad that I laughed uncontrollably.
Love is your weakness and your strength. Do not be misled. Time is running out, but you must be strong. The wrong choice will be the doom of all.
Would then go on to have a small role in John Carpenter's Vampires. Arguably, the one getting the most work here is Stefan's actor, who went on to feature and still does show up in many Hallmark Channel Christmas rom-coms. He seems to have made that his thing, and while I am more of a Lifetime guy, I respect the hustle. The music is pretty standard stuff, brief loops of stock mystery music that you might get sick of the more lost you are. The standout choice they make is opening and closing the game with some adult contemporary rock music, both credited to a singer named Greta Rose. They're charming in their own way. I think I vibe with the closing one more, as the opener really just reminds me of sitting in a dentist waiting room. I enjoyed my time with The Vampire Diaries, not so much for the plot, characters, dialogue, gameplay, or most of the general things that could make a game enjoyable, but as an amusing time capsule, a moment in gaming that can't be replicated, where the industry recognized its own sexism, attempted to address it for financial gain, overshot it, and promptly retracted those efforts. Even though it wasn't the Vampire Diaries books that kicked off a series of successful games, it did pave the way for what was, until recent years, a consistent staple of adventure games. For as long as I've been playing them, Her Interactive has been there on that mystery grind. I can't imagine there being much enjoyment out of the novelty of this thing for fans of either the books or the TV show series, actually. If you combine both spin-offs, The Vampire Diaries has technically had more hours on TV than Supernatural. This doesn't seem to make any attempt at capturing the spirit or purpose of that, the garbagey nature of it. It just uses the framework to present you with interesting stuff to click on. All that to say, the best place you can be to enjoy the Vampire Diaries adventure game from the year 1996 is to be an adult millennial that is easily entertained by what games looked like when they were younger. I'm gonna be real with you. I've played complete garbage. I've seen things. I've played complete garbage just cause it looked something like this. And just for a moment, I'm a little boy. Don't gotta pay bills. The Simpsons is still good. I'm too young to process the fallout effects of divorce. And video games had videos of Z-list actors pretending to be vampires. All is right with the world. The video is over. You've completed the entirety of its core content. The rest of this is an addendum, an afterword, designed to say, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please consider supporting it in some manner. Supporting the video or my channel, and by extension me, in some manner. The options to do this are thusly: liking, commenting, subscribing, looking at links in description, turning off ad block for just my video. That is up to you. The cards are in your hands. Either way, thank you for watching the video. I don't know, I hope you liked it. I watched a fair amount of the Vampire Diaries television show, listened to some of the book, tried to immerse myself in it. You know, went down to the local high school. They said, of course you can enroll. I took off my sunglasses and repeated myself, and let's just say I must be doing something wrong. Next video is already well on its way, so shouldn't be too long, I hope. But thanks again, and an extra special thanks to Ailing Uncle, 2 Password for Kids, Assisi, Agendine, Alex Raymond, Alexander Smith, Andre Perkins, Aparts 89, Bayard Brown, Benjamin Sid Perez, Big Abuela Energy, Close Quarter Wombat, D-Sky, Daphne Pittendry, Dark Raptor 86, Deluminati, Dr. Beard, DOS Days, Edgy, Edward Avila, Fart Mother, Game Master, Gaming with Clarptarp, Gamma, High Food Court, Jack the Dave, J. Alameen, Joseph Zanoni, Carrot, Kamikaze Melon, Leon Hooks, Let's Play the Pain Pachinko, Lizatar, Lore, Marcus Channy, Michael Schmidt, Morgan Harper, Nekot the Brave, Octo, Oisto, Philip Woolley, Rahul Kirthi, Richard Gillespie, Roland, Salvatore Tosti, Shadowman 13, Snapplefish, Stukabliat. This deal is getting better all the time. Tower of Lead, Turts, Zach Bishop, Crash Punk, Daniel Streb, Avanerve, Giraffa, Gunmancer, Jake Steele, Karen Rosenau, Catherine Graven, Swood Operator, T-Dog 8083, 410,757,864,530 gay cops, A Hanging Chad, Bang Flang, Binary Vision, Brady the Sanity Tax Collector, Brozoof Jones, Cantankerous, Dubs, Enter Stage Left, and Fuck My Ass, Grib Daddy. I'm still not used to just saying that, but okay. Ishanji, Jeremy Lott, J-Man DX, JP, Mad Monty 98, Make It Raynor, Morg Detrius, Ophelia Fishwife, P Dizzle, Persian Air, Please Stop Treating Player Agency as a Negative, Leaning Left-Right Manually Isn't a Fucking Cover System, It's Basic Movement, Robert Brandon, Rowdy Roddy Peeper, Samuel Ward, Simon Daniel, Technica, 10-Beat, That Uninformed Guy, The Angry Pebble, Where Am I? Help, Alistair Stewart, Alexander Ulbrich, Ali G, All the Nope, Andrew Light, Andy Krieger, Astro Shepherd, Atari Steed, Auspicious Whiskers, Beetle Sky, Ben and Kara Dowling, Benjamin Payne, Benji Blakeway, Bindle, Bishi93, Biv Dub, Brendan McFadden, Brett Weaver, Brody Gibson, Carl Hanna, Chimichanga Jones, Colby, Cult of Lita, Daniel Chernovsky, David Fromke, David Harpstrite, David's Baby Bilkies, Dazed Clockwork, Dongs.exe, Electric Crowbar. Gonna take a guess and say Eric Yaudon. I'm sorry if it's not. I am sorry for everything. Ethan Alexander, Eto, Yulino 7, Fix My Brain, General Klazara, Ghoul Baby Bond, Goth Hunter Cass, Haley Bobella, Hitoshi-san, Irish Wristwatch, Irish Wristwatch, Irish Wristwatch, Jake Desi, Jake Raynor, Jerry, Jimmy Changa, June Choi, Jordan Balzano, Joshua, Joshua David, J-Raptor, Captain Ketchup, Lori Kubri, Leland Miliokis, Leopold Gloom, Lightly Salted Nuts, M, Mandalore Gaming, Marauding Fraud, Marcy Bones, Max Cohen, MCR, Micah J. Best, Miles Phillips, More Sharks, Mr. Alpacleton, Mr. Ducky Quack, Mystical Lint, Name Requires DLC, Nick Hill, Nick Timmons, Nuclear Sun, Noel Rom, Oliver Marshall, Opichi Kostra, Paul Fierce. Raccoons are really cute. Their little hands are grabby. Cute little grabby hands. Replicant. Ruibi Somem. Samejima. Rat Roundup's #1 fan. Scofflaw D. Shadanon. Skylar J. Leal. Sob Akaduka. Startide. Sinulia. Team R. The Ratmonger of Castle Jork. Vilmar Valthorson. Vincent Cronin. Well now, I'm not going to talk about Putty. In fact, we're not going to talk about Putty at all. Zanga PF. And Zdienek Benez. And the rest for being a patron. Oh! Since the question about what to watch during October is still up, I will add that I've been watching the 80s anthology series Monsters, which right now is free on Amazon and is a lot of fun. Very goofy, very silly, very spooky, creepy sometimes. I have not figured out how to block Amazon ads though, so that is upsetting. Also, to add in a supernatural quote, as that name is still up, pudding! I don't know if I already said that one, but it was the first thing that came to mind. It's a scene I think about a lot. Still haven't watched the pilot episode of the spin-off, but I'll get around to it, if only to see how much of a not good, how much not good show it could be. Hoping to be surprised, but I've got nothing in the past few years that has suggested that I will be. All right, for real, I got so much fucking content coming up. I've been very busy, and I hope that pays off in some way. As in, you like what I have spent all this time on. Should be good. Should be a little spooky. Should be a little creepy crawly. A little whoo. Anyway, I hope you're doing alright. Hope you're having an enjoyable spooky month that extends into a spooky rest of the year. Yeah. Bye.